So it's still got a palm underneath there, even though the fingers and the thumb are covering it, because you've got to get used to actually drawing through a drawing. Not just drawing what you see, but drawing underneath the stuff that you're looking at. So we've just got another block, the top of the knuckles, and then that line there that goes across the next part of the knuckle, block for the thumb, and then draw the wrist again. It's always good to draw the wrist because it shows you where the hand is, where it's coming from, and how it's twisted off the wrist or not. That tells you a lot about a gesture of a hand. So looking at my hand, same palm. So this is similar to the snake pinch because it's coming at you. Okay, so palm and wrist, always the best to start with. Then the span is going to be knuckles, and then those fingers fold back into the palm. That would be the bottom part of that. And then the thumb is covering part of this. Thumb knuckle is here, back down to the wrist, and then the other lever of the thumb like that, and then that big thumb muscle. Put the nail so we know where we are. Now this big panel and arc here behind the thumb, we go bang, 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 and then the last one, be a bit more generous with the palm here. The last one with this little finger, we get a little bit of side wrinkle as it pushes out. Sort of hint of that on the other side. And now we do a little arcs for the knuckles because they kind of little humps when the fist clenches like this. And we can see a slight bit of the top of the other knuckle section, but not much. So just do knuckle lines, because there's not going to be any fingernails, obviously. And there's a little fold there, there's a fold there for that pinky muscle, and there's some folds for the thumb, because it's really kind of clenched in there quite tightly. And then let's just rub out what we don't want to see. I mean, there are all different kinds of fists you can draw, obviously. It just depends on what angle you're looking at your fist and what angle you're rotating your wrist. It's all in the wrist and the fist. There's a slight hint of that wrist line there, and hint of these knuckle lines kind of go like that. There is some light that would help differentiate that thumb there. One underneath that finger, goes around the back here, and one there, and in between, make it a little darker. So that one is a lot easier than the pinch snake hand. If you roll the fist towards you, you're going to see a completely different shape where the thumb ends up being quite heavy on the bottom. So I'll just show you also how to move multiple layers out of the way, because we might leave that fist over on the left here while I draw the other one. So it doesn't always work properly, but once you've got that top layer, you shift, select that one so they're both selected, and so the blue envelopes on those layers you can still see are shown. I'm holding V down and I move my fist over to here. Sometimes that doesn't work when you hold V in it. It lets go of one of these layers or both, and you try and move it and it doesn't let you, but just do it again. So I'm going to draw this same fist and hand again, but I'm going to turn the fist, lever it towards me. So you'll see what I mean when I start drawing it. Palm again, and because it's slightly foreshortened, the shape is slightly more exaggerated. Alright, wrist. Now we just look at the span of the knuckles, something like that, and then go to the bottom of the knuckle and it'll be something like that, maybe even lower. Let's get rid of that one. It doesn't have to be perfect because as you're drawing a hand, you know, your hand's naturally going to start moving and changing angles. That can't be helped. Let's do the fingers first before we whack that thumb in there. There's the middle finger, which also does that finger, the next one, and the next one. Then drop down, bang, drop it down, drop it down. Okay, so knuckles are basically circles, because as your fist, I almost said fist clenches. As your fist clenches, they kind of become circles. Then let's do the hump thing for the knuckles. That sort of middle finger one is the most pronounced one of the lot. Okay, so the thumb is basically some great big surfboard shape, and it goes all the way over to this third finger. So just go bang bang and whack it like that. And then you got the thumb muscle, which comes under there, and then this is your thumb knuckle, obviously. You can see the sort of thumb nail from the top to the knuckles there. Actually, that thumbnail, that's too top down an angle to do it at. This is a good thing about making mistakes, is when you draw a thumbnail, it really does determine to the viewer which angle your thumb is at. So let's favor it more like that. That's that little finger there. Now with this one, it goes sort of out the side there. So we see some of these folds. Get rid of that old line there. Get rid of that. Now this line here actually is all one line. We won't be breaking that up with these kind of panel lines here. See, that's all one line because of the angle that we've got it at. And probably drop it at there instead, because I may have been a bit generous with the, look, I'm making mistakes here. Who cares? It's called learning. That goes down there, there, there. Okay, so we can get some paint. This just, as I've said before, very useful for these weird complex shapes. Shadow down the wrist there, little tiny one there, right in the middle, and on the knuckles, on the thumb, and on the folds. So basically you've got a rolling fist from the left to the right here. Now I've just noticed I should be a bit more generous with this bit of fat here, because it sort of pushes out. Flesh in your hand, every time you change the position of your hand, it just morphs in and out, which is the great thing about drawing hands. They're an ever morphing organism. Just alpha down on those two hands, add a layer, and then let's just redraw that line over the top. Okay, so this one was palm like that. This block was that. So you've got the bottom of the knuckles, top of the knuckles, bang, 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 and then you've got that little subtle break there. And then thumb out the side, getting the angle of it. And then that big thumb muscle, which really helps. Wrist. Other one over here was palm, faithful palm shape that we always start with. The wrist. Then this is, you can see how different because of the angle of it, rather than it being sort of straight up and down like this one. This one's more of an angle, and that's the bottom there. So it's always good to go with the biggest shape first. So top there, bottom, and then next line was where the knuckles come out, and bang, bang, bang. Thumb again was just another big block across here. Thumb muscle again. The right angle of that thumbnail really shows the rotation of the thumb. And that is two fists. Not in anger, but in learning.